Well, when I was a young girl, I always were like fighting for women's rights and discussing and all that about how women are equal to men. Today, I don't believe we're equal. I believe we're different, but that we do deserve equal rights and equal opportunities, and since anytime I was in a decision-making position, every time I could, I included policies, strategies, and of course allocated budget in terms of improving women's life. And I did it as a Minister of Health. I did it in the reform. We had a whole range of gender, I would say, perspective on the health reform. And then on defense, I included from the beginning lots of different policies that will open more opportunities for women. And of course, as President of the Republic also. No. If somebody would ask me, I would love that men should be the champions of gender equality. I mean, this is a whole society issue. Women's rights is not the issue of the women, is the issue of all society. And I do believe that women, if you can achieve that women's rights are really respected, it's a whole society who wins. For example, in many places where this is not happening today. But women are in the heart of the economic growth, but still in a very precarious, a difficult way. If we can improve their capacity, for example, on delivering economically much better, first of all, women usually when they have incomes or even with remittances, the 90% is given to the families and children, so everybody wins from that. But also they continue developing other economic activities. So I will tell you no. I mean, gender equality should be the concern of men, boys, of course women and girls. Well, I think, first of all, it's one of the things that every country had to look at it and think on how it can, because it's not easy for women usually, because there are so many obstacles. Because even in societies like the UK, there is the economy of care situation which is not solved in a way that permits women to have more time for doing other things. So every time a child gets ill, the ones who stays at home is a woman, or if they have a disabled member of the family or an elder member of the family. So I think in countries like, even in developed countries, we need to look at economy of care, how we can better reconcile the private life and public life of women, how we can find support capacity in terms of childcare, in terms of disabled care, in terms of elderly care. So it's not all in the back, like a new backpack on women's shoulder. So I think that's one issue. But not only for political, but for any reason, for quality of life, if I may say, that it should be more reconciled, men and women's responsibility in the society. Second, I would believe political parties, they should try to attract more female, but also, I would say, helping them in terms of developing political capacity skills, leadership training, and so on. But also it means that the parties have to be able to want to share, more power, and because in opening political space to women is sharing power. And I truly believe that women can make a huge contribution to politics, because usually women, when they're involved in something, they're more involved with the mission than for power itself. And I think constituencies, the public, want to see politicians involved in what matters to them, and not sometimes they look at politicians like discussing things that won't improve their lives. So I truly believe it's not only good that the political parties open space to women, I also believe it is an opportunity for for politics to open space to women in bringing fresh air, if I may say, fresh ideas, new contents, but also, why not, new kinds of leadership. And I think that's also a very good way of contributing for a stronger democracy and bigger governance. I'm so convinced of that. Well, I think being a former minister, former president, It brings a lot of experience in terms of, first of all, understanding which the situation of women's are. Second, to know that it can be done. I mean, if you really have the political will, you can organize the fiscal space to have some money for supporting women's progress, or whatever the dimension is. Third, I think it has given me experience and also networks in terms of knowing a lot of head of state, head of government. It also helps me in terms of, I think that when an agency, whatever agency is, cooperation like DFID or other, had to think on programs and policies with other government, they should try to put themselves in the shoes of the one who have to make decisions, because people have to make so many decisions. So usually if you don't take into consideration that political point of view, you could miss something very important. So I think that experience will help me also to try to think also in which is the best way to try to convince somebody that to invest in women is not only the right thing to do, but the smartest thing to do. My impression is that domestic violence as a whole is much more against women, not against men. There are, though, domestic violence against men, and also with two men are a couple, we have seen that. I think we need to do much more campaigning and intelligent policy and strategies against domestic violence as a whole. In this country, the estimation of Home Office are that domestic violence is it costs 37 billion pounds a year, so it's a lot in terms of economic consequence, in terms of health, physical health, mental health care, but also loss of productivity and so on. So is it against men or against women? We cannot tolerate violence, domestic violence. So we need to, it's probably the most pervasive violation of human rights, and the majority is against women, and we need to fight against both of them.